We're going to focus on how to run tests on your marketing emails to get results that you can measure. Every email test you run should have a strong purpose behind it. Each time you decide to test an email, ask yourself the following questions. Why am I running this test? And what am I hoping to get out of it? By testing your emails, you're focusing your email marketing efforts around data-driven analysis, which gives you the next steps for improving the next send. Let's explore how to test your emails to identify the right next steps to continue to send emails that will provide value to your contacts. Before diving into the steps you're going to be using, let's first talk about A/B testing. What is it, and how can you use it to test your marketing emails? A/B testing is the inbound answer to a controlled experiment. It's defined as a method of comparing two versions of a web page, an app, or an email to determine which one performs better. In this case, we're comparing two versions of an email. You could use an A/B test to pinpoint specific variations of your email and focus on how to improve that asset, which allows you to focus on data-driven analysis instead of a guessing game. Most email marketing tools will have a specific feature that allows you to A/B test assets, but you can also run an A/B test on your own without these tools. An A/B test allows you to test variations of your email alongside one another. Then you can review the results to see which one performed better to get the data to back up future decisions on your email sends. Now that you have an idea of what A/B testing is, let's move on to the steps you'll take to run tests on your marketing emails. The first step is to define the goal and purpose of your test. Second, evaluate the segment of recipients you're sending to. Third, design your test. And lastly, review and start your test. These are your steps to get you started on developing tests for your marketing emails. You will analyze and report on these results as well, but first we need to focus on creating the tests. When you're running a test on an email, all you want to focus on is one element that you are testing: the subject line, the body content, or the CTA you are using. Think of the tests you are running as experiments where you want a control and a variable. With this in mind, you can take your first step in developing the test of your marketing emails. The first step in any inbound strategy is defining the purpose for doing something. If you're testing just to test, you won't discover results that give you actionable steps to help you improve. While testing your marketing emails consistently will help you improve over time, keep in mind that doing something just to do something will not provide valuable results, nor provide value to those receiving your emails. Take a look at how your emails are performing and decide what you want to improve. Maybe a specific type of email you're sending is not yielding the results you want. Or maybe you're going through a rebranding and want to test different colors or logos. Whatever it is, make sure you have a purpose before setting out to run a test. When setting this goal for your email test, you'll also be preparing to design your email test later on. Take, for example, looking at the email elements you can test. Which elements can affect open rates? It could be a few things, such as the number of emails you send to a list, the subject line, and the preview text. And which elements can affect click-through rates? The email body copy, the body design layout, the body images, the CTA, and email signature. These elements can give you a starting point for focusing your goal and purpose. From here, you can see what's working well and what's not to draft a hypothesis of what you want to test and thus improve. Now that you have a goal and purpose for your test, you'll need to evaluate the segment of recipients you're sending to. You can't run an A/B test on your email unless it goes to someone. And when you're testing an email, you need a minimum amount of recipients to make the test conclusive. This is where statistical significance comes in. Testing significance involves doing some math to determine the number of people you want on your email list in order to run a test. If you send an email to 5 people to try and test a new subject line, you might send 3 out of those 5 people the updated subject line. And while they might all love it, you won't be able to confidently say that the rest of your contacts will. You need more people for the results to be statistically significant. So how do you know how many people to run a test with? HubSpot's A/B testing tool, for example, requires you to have at least 1,000 contacts on your list to run a test. This is the total number of contacts you wish to send a specific email to. To run your test, you'll need to determine a percentage or sample size from that 1,000 contacts to send your variations or versions of email to. You will have your version A, which can be your control, the typical email you would send. And then you have your version B, the one in which has a variation made to it, whether this is a change to your subject line, body text, or other element. If you are testing under 1,000 contacts, you could run a 50-50 test for your email send, where 50% get version A and the other 50% get version B. Let's say, though, you do have 1,000 or more contacts that you want to send to. You will now need to determine the sample size that will yield conclusive results. If you're using a tool like HubSpot, then the tool can help make this calculation for you. You will select the percentage you wish to send each variation, and the number will be set. But you can also determine that sample size using a significance test calculator. This will give you the number for each sample size that will yield conclusive results. This calculator will help you determine the number of people that will receive each version of the email, the control, and the variation. Let's walk through an example together. You can see here on this sample size calculator, there are a few different options you will need to fill out: the confidence level, interval, and the population. And then finally, it'll produce a sample size. Let's begin with the population. The population is the total number of contacts you want to send your email to. For example, 1,000 contacts. You can get an estimate of this number by looking at the last 4 or 5 emails you have sent and how many people you sent it to. Once you have your population, you will have to set a confidence interval. You might have also heard this called margin of error. Lots of surveys use it. This is the range of results you can expect once the test has run with the full population. And lastly, you need to look at the confidence level. This tells you how sure you can be that your sample results lie within the confidence interval. The lower the percentage, the less sure you can be about the results. The higher the percentage, the more people you'll need in your sample size to test. For example, in HubSpot, the A/B testing tool uses 85% confidence level to determine a winner. In a tool like this, you can choose 95% as a base. Now let's apply these values to see what we get. We have our list of 1,000 contacts, and we want to be 95% confident our winning email version falls within a 5-point interval of our population metrics. Here's what we'd put into the tool: population 1,000, confidence level 95%, confidence interval 5. And this would produce a sample size of 278. This would mean that 278 people get version A and another 278 get version B. Each segment would receive one of these versions. Then you'd be able to see which version performed better. For example, version B with your variation, and then send that version to the rest of the contacts from your original list who did not receive a variation. An A/B testing tool can help you do this automatically, but you can also implement your A/B test by creating your different segments once you know each of the sample sizes that you'll need. Now that you know the purpose and the goal of your email test, and you know the number of recipients you need to make your test produce results, you can move on to designing the actual test. The design will relate heavily to your purpose or goal. Like other aspects of your inbound strategy, your goal is tied directly to the content, purpose, or outcome you're producing. When you set your goal, you identified areas in your email that need improving. Now it's time to take it a step further and figure out ways to improve them. An important aspect of testing is to make sure what you're proposing is feasible. If you don't want anyone to unsubscribe from your emails, don't send any emails. Great experiment, right? Not so much. When you're hypothesizing, be creative, but also keep your ideas within the boundaries of reality. You want to explore tests that will provide long-term results for your business. Let's look at an example of a hypothesis and what type of test you might design. In this example, when setting the purpose of your test, let's say you identified that your newsletter emails are not getting the open rates you'd like, and you want to find a solution by running a test to see how you can improve them. Your goal is to improve email newsletter open rates from 11% to 15% during a business quarter. Your hypothesis is that the subject line contains characters or words that are triggering the recipient's spam filters. To test this hypothesis, you can design a test to adjust the subject lines to avoid exclamation marks and percentage signs and remove salesy words like free and discount. You want to aim to closely line the subject line with what the email contains. And you'll test if applying these best practices improves your open rate. Another hypothesis and solution for your low open rates is you send too many emails, so your contacts are less compelled to open them. And you can design a test to try to reduce your email frequency for at least 1 month and observe if email open rates improve. This is how you can tie your goal to the design of your test to start to measure and improve your email sends. Lastly, you'll review and start the test. This is an important step because it means deciding how long you want to run your test for. There is no magic number, no perfect time of the week, or even day of the month to run your tests. But you want to run your test long enough to make sure enough of your contacts have had time to interact with the content. Some email A/B testing tools will have you set a time frame for the test, and at the end of that time period, the tool will choose a winning email to send to the rest of your contacts. This is why timing can be so important. Your A/B test might not be significant after an hour, or even if after 24 hours. To decide on this time frame, you can take a look at your past performance. Remember, you want to focus on data-driven analysis, not guesswork. One of the most common mistakes people make is ending a test too soon. And this doesn't just mean the one A/B test. Make sure you're testing many emails to start to see how things are trending before making an overall change to the way you send email. Maybe you choose to test a few different elements over multiple email sends and multiple months. Analyzing these metrics will help you decide on what you want to adjust for the time being. But for a single email send, the time is still important. Take a look at past email opens and clicks and see where things started to drop off. For example, what percentage of total clicks did your email get during its first day? If you found that it got 70% of clicks in the first 24 hours, and then 5% each day after that, it makes sense to cap your email A/B testing timing window to 24 hours, because it wouldn't be worth delaying your results just to gather a little bit of extra data. If you use an email platform that has an A/B testing tool, then it'll determine a statistically significant winner. If not, you can determine the winner yourself by calculating the conversion rates of the two types of emails. But what happens if your test fails? What if neither version performs better than the other, or it's too close to actually determine significance? If neither variation produced statistically significant results, your test was inconclusive. That is okay. This is why testing is important. Not every test will produce results for you to take action on immediately. This might mean adjusting your goal or looking at the numbers you want to move. But most importantly, don't be afraid to test and test again. After all, repeated efforts can only help you improve. This is where you can start to see how these tests are performing. You might decide to run the test multiple times to determine what you want to change. These are your steps for outlining the test you want to run on your marketing emails. Define the goal and purpose of your test, evaluate the segment of recipients you're sending to, designing your test, and review and start your test. Testing is a great way to see how your contacts are engaging or not engaging with your marketing emails. And by following these steps, you'll continue to prove your ability to do data-driven analysis for your business.